condition, and she apologises unreservedly for this. She goes on to say the lessons learned have led to significant changes in the 2 years since Mrs Webster's death, and that the coroner recognises this.
Alex, thanks very much indeed for that report coming from Alex Howick. BBC Radio Derby, it's 14 minutes past 5. A company in Hena that supports subcontractors says that 95% of government contracts are not being paid on time. Streetwise Subby provides debt recovery help amongst other services for contractors working in the construction industry. And Barry Ashmore from Streetwise Subby says that payments to small businesses are being delayed by major contractors.
Well, the problem is the government or public sector agency who lets the project, lets it to a tier one, what are called tier one contractors. These are generally the main contractors, the names that you see on site hoardings such as Balfour Beatty, Carillion, BAM, Lang, O'Rourke, Keir, etc. It's then when the money's paid to them, they hang on to it. They don't pay their subcontractors properly. That's the real problem.
Are they hanging on to it for too long?
Well, they get paid in no more than 30 days and sometimes as little as 7 days, and they'll hang on to it for 60 or 90 days even. So they're just using the subcontractors' money to fund their business.
And what can the subcontracted people do about this? What can the likes of yourself do about it?
Well, first and foremost, what they've got to do is to try and ensure that in the first place, they don't agree to those terms, which is easier said than done, actually, because our survey shows that 60% of them say they're not able to challenge the payment terms.
All right, so they're given a contract, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. That's very much the way from these tier one contractors. But if they can, then our advice is negotiate better payment terms in the first instance. If they can't do that, then they've got to ensure that they are actually getting paid on time, that they don't agree to onerous provisions that would otherwise stop them getting paid.
What kind of sums are we talking about here? I get the impression we're talking about large sums on which a business hinges getting payment on in a reasonable time.
Absolutely. Our last survey was of 216 substantial businesses, 78% of which had a turnover in excess of £1 million, and some of them, 14% in fact, were of 5 million turnover. So, they could be getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds each month.
So what position does this leave small businesses in if the cash isn't coming in a reasonable time?
Well, it's very difficult for them to grow and to fund their own business. They simply can't pass that delay on to their workforce because the guys on site would just simply walk. They can't pass it on to their suppliers because they'd simply put them on stop. So they're funding the industry. These guys are actually funding the construction industry.
Have you seen things changing over the past few years? Is this a comparatively new development?
It's changed for the worse over the last, basically since 2008. It's always been a problem, but since 2008, since the crash, it's become even more of a problem. So
big companies are just holding on to money so they make interest, and again, that provides a bit more of a buffer for them.
Absolutely, because they don't make any margin on what they do. What people need to realise is that back in the day, people used to be proper building contractors. People, say from Derby, for instance, might remember a company called Ford and Weston, who actually employed people to, bricklayers, joiners, etc. Now we're talking about companies that exist solely as a conduit for money. They bring very little to the party in terms of project management skills and the like. They're meant to have all of those skills, but they don't. It would be rather like Rolls-Royce just subletting every single part of the engine manufacturer to other people. Yes, they do buy in components, but the core expertise at Rolls-Royce, they add value with their core engineering expertise. These large contractors don't do that.
Yeah, the problems of cash flow when it comes to government contracts and the subcontractors getting their share on time. Barry Ashmore there from streetwisesubby.com. BBC Radio Derby, 18 minutes past 5. We'll have the travel news for you very shortly. But before we do that, looking back over the last 24 hours and the tornado, it was confirmed by the Met Office that a tornado hit Alfreton yesterday afternoon. Properties were left without roofs and a car overturned. Part of the town was closed by Derbyshire Fire and Rescue Service for several hours. This is how the story developed on BBC Radio Derby.
We have several fire engines around in the area, together with the cherry pickers. The fire brigade are here, they've blocked everything off. We've got about 3 different incidents have gone on, though, here.
Right.
Because as well as this one here on Mansfield Road, we also have a tree across the railway line as well, which we're in the process of trying to clear. And also Carnfield Hill has got trees across it as well, and that's blocked.
There have been reports of high winds in Alfreton causing wide-scale damage. Apparently roofs have been taken off homes and cars turned over at the junction of Catherine Street and Mansfield Road.
At the moment there is nothing burning or anything like that. It's purely a matter of masonry falling and roof material falling. Cherry pickers, it looks like the fire brigade are trying to make safe, and obviously there's stuff in the street, etc., rubble in the street and bricks and things in the street.
Several properties along this road where there's been some damage done to the roof. Also, I understand, speaking to residents here, they say that there was a tornado and that has actually overturned some cars a little further along this road from where I'm standing on the edge of the fire service cordon.
The Met Office have just confirmed that a tornado has hit Derbyshire this afternoon.
Earlier in this year, there was a funnel cloud, but there's a difference in a funnel cloud and a tornado. A tornado, it's formed as a funnel cloud in the twist of motion, but it's got to touch down to the ground to actually be classed as a tornado.
In the last few moments, teams from Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service have just arrived. Yet another fire engine. I now make that at least 4 that I've seen, in addition to the fire service cherry picker, which is currently, I suppose, assessing the damage of one of the terraced houses on Mansfield Road, which is where I'm standing at the moment. The Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service, which has just arrived, the fire service personnel who have got out of that vehicle were wearing tabards which say that they are specialist rescue teams.